All right, we're live. We did it. Episode 19 here of DG Weekly Live. This is going to be on the Justice. As you guys can tell, as I'm sure most of you already know about the Justice, super overstable mid-range, super controllable. Probably, if not our most overstable disc, one of them for sure. It's up there. But really quick, we do have a few people here. Go ahead and leave your questions for me in the chat. Also, like the stream and share it, and that's how we're going to enter people into the giveaway that we'll do at the end of the stream for this here. We've got a Prime Justice up this week. This is the one that you'll see me throwing in some clips here. Also, use the coupon code, as you can see down in the chat, and then also, it's actually going to be up here this time, right there. Coupon code Justice15 is going to save you 15% on both Lucid as well as Moonshine Justices from dynamicdiscs.com. It's not working. Why did that not show up? Hold on. Haha! There we go. Coupon code Justice15 right there. That's the one that you're going to want to use for 15% off. Sorry about that. 15% off on dynamicdiscs.com, both Lucid and Moonshine Justices. So we do have a few people. Matt, what's up, Matt? Michaels, we got a few Michaels, actually. Joshua says the Justice is probably my favorite disc to throw right now. Joshua, you and me both. I have been loving the Lucid Justice lately. Nate, what's up, dude? Dustin, how you doing? Ryan, we got quite the stream going on today already. Kyle joining up. Sean says, best mid-range sidearm disc around. Sean, I would probably have to agree, honestly. As far as sidearms go for me, there's very few discs that I can confidently throw sidearms with without worrying about the disc flipping over, without anything happening to it. There's very few discs or mid-rangers, I should say, specifically, that I can pull out of my bag and be like, if I throw this sidearm, I know what it's going to do. The Justice is absolutely at the top of that list. That's one of the reasons why it's in my bag personally, is because I don't have the best sidearm, but I know what that disc is going to do sidearm. So speaking of sidearms, we'll go ahead and play the clips real quick. Hopefully you didn't all just go deaf from that. My apologies. But in the clips you can see massively overstable. A few of these, like this one right here, is into a tailwind, and you can see I threw it, kind of turned over, and out of my hand it immediately came out flat and just went straight for a minute. And this one's now coming back into the headwind. That's almost full power. Flat into a headwind, and it started hyzering immediately. So it is an extremely overstable disc. Also, really good for shorter approaches. If you are just looking to throw some sort of a hyzer shot, some sort of a hyzer angle into the basket, you can see just swing this thing out right. It's going to work its way back left and just stop right by the basket. You don't have to worry about it going too far. It's I was talking with a guy when we were playing tags not that long ago, and he said it's almost, the reason he throws it for a lot of his upshots is because it's almost impossible to go past the basket. Even if you throw this thing super hard, here we can see some sidearm mid-ranges like we were just talking about. Even if you throw it super hard, it's really almost impossible unless you're throwing max power on like a 50-foot approach or something like that. But if you control your distance at all, it's not going to go far. You're definitely not going to miss long with this. If there's any sort of danger behind the basket, if there's any sort of water or OB or anything like that, you're not going to have to worry about that when you're throwing a Justice on the approach. So Ryan says, love the Warrant. Yes, Ryan, we did the Warrant last week, which is about as opposite as a mid-range can get from the Justice. But Ryan was our winner last week, so he says he's loving that, so that is awesome, Ryan. Nate has a question, and he says, now that a bit of time has passed since the release of the Westside Anvil, how do the two compare? Nate, I would say that they're definitely similar, but they're not the same disc. A lot of people, when the Anvil was coming out, a lot of people were saying it's going to be a beadless Justice. It's going to fly just like a Justice, and that's not the case. The Anvil is definitely an overstable approach disc. but it's not as overstable as a Justice. It is beadless and it is overstable, but it's not a Justice at all. It'll handle winds, it'll handle power just fine, not something you have to worry about at all, but the Justice is definitely noticeably more overstable. I would think the Anvil almost is kind of like a mix between like a Justice and a Slammer maybe. Not as overstable, but definitely in a similar shot type in your bag. How well does it avoid trees? About as well as anything, I would say. Anvil flips me. What? Joshua says Anvil for me flips on a sidearm shot. The Justice won't. Goodness. I wish I could. I can't even flip an Anvil on purpose. Even if I tried to come over on that thing, it's not going to. It's going to fight out. So, wow. Joshua must have quite the sidearm there. Uh-oh. Jelty, sorry. We just got kicked out of the chat there, so we're going to have to refresh here for a minute. All right, we're back. We're good. Let's see if we run Jelty's comment. He says, bag a soft and a lucid. Will there be a new run of soft Justices? Jelty, I do not know. I'm sure at some point there will be for sure, but I don't have any sort of information as to when things like that will come out, unfortunately. I'm not privy to that knowledge. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Dustin says, I'm taking a tour of the warehouse tomorrow. So excited. That's awesome, Dustin. For anyone who doesn't know, we do offer warehouse tours, and we've had quite a few people coming in and doing those. Unfortunately, Dustin, myself, and Bobby, and Robert, and Danny, we will all actually be gone. We're heading down to Tyler, Texas for the Piney Woods Open. So I don't know if we will be there, but you will get to see the whole warehouse. You'll get to see the whole staff, everyone else. You get to see the whole operation. I believe the link for that is dynamicdiscs.com/tour, or it might be warehouse. But if you go to the website and search for the tours, you will be able to find that. Matt Whitlock says, Lat64 said the mold doesn't like the soft plastic, so they don't plan on running anymore. Okay, so if that is the case, that is the first I'm hearing of it. So maybe not any more soft Justices. Maybe those are out of production. Me and my buddy Dalton with the 100-foot gauntlet roller, Dustin says. All right, Dustin. Cool, man. I'm convinced the trees in my local park have magnets in them, says Che. Well, Che, you got to get like the counteractive magnets for that. Kind of like if you put two, positive ends of a magnet. This is so much smarter than I am, but if you put magnets together backwards, they like push apart. So you should get that and put that in your discs. Joshua says, I have an EMAC Justice is the same numbers as the normal Justice, because I also have an EMAC Truth and the numbers are slightly different. So the EMAC Truth and the Truth are different discs, Joshua, but the EMAC Justice is just, it sounds like that's just a Justice with an EMAC stamp. There's no disc that's called the EMAC Justice. It's probably just a Justice with an Eric McCabe stamp or a Dimax or something like that on it. So yes, that should just be a stock run Justice. There's no other, no other runs of Justice. The numbers did get retooled a little bit ago. As you can see here, this one is a speed 5, glide of 1, turn of positive 0.5, and a fade of 4. And then if you saw on that intro screen, it actually had a 3 for a glide. And the 3, when we first came out with the Justice, it had a 3 glide. And then we later, I think earlier this year, might have been end of last year, we went through and just kind of tweaked some of our flight numbers just to make them a little bit more accurate and get them a little bit closer to the actual flight of the discs. So it's possible that you have an older run of Justice that'll have a 3 for the glide, but like someone was just asking about an EMAC Justice, there's no such other runs. The mold itself hasn't been tweaked or changed or anything like that. Eric wants to know, how much more stable is the Justice compared to the Verdict? Eric, it's a good bit more overstable. Even more overstable than the Lucid X Verdicts, even more overstable than the Moonshine Verdicts. The Justice is very, very overstable. it's kind of like comparing the verdict is kind of like a getaway, where the justice is kind of like a criminal, where the justice is just monstrously overstable. You're not going to flip it over. And then the verdict is a pretty straight to slightly overstable disc, where if you beat one up, you can turn it over. If you throw it on an anhyzer, it'll hold that for a second. But like in these clips here, you'll see the justice does not turn over at all. Even when I tried like that, I threw it on a touch of anhyzer, and it still just fought immediately into a flat to overstable flight almost immediately. Kyle says, more beef than a sirloin steak. Absolutely, Kyle. You could serve this thing up at a restaurant. Speaking of, real quick, more beef than a sirloin steak here. Check that out. 100% beef. High quality, 100% beef. This is on a Moonshine Justice. I don't know if we ever ran through the plastic types, so we'll go ahead and get back to those clips real quick, and then we'll go through the plastic types, because there are quite a few. One of them being the Prime Justice, which is what we're going to be giving away. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of the stream for that giveaway. The way to enter is just leave a question in the chat and then like and share the stream as well. But also, we do have coupon code JUSTICE15, which is going to save you 15% on Lucid and Moonshine Justices. Now, we just showed that high quality 100% beef. I do not think that the code will work on those. I think it's just the stock stamp Moonshine. But you can send a question to the chat on the website there to double check on that one. And if it doesn't, then maybe they will let you, maybe they'll let you slide through with that. Mark says, I love my classic soft Justice and my Lucid Justice combo. Hurts to hear the soft may never be in production again. Mark, that seems like a real good option to have that soft along with a more premium Justice. The soft is going to come out of your hand a little bit more prone to wobble, I guess we could call it. But the Justice is going to be more overstable in that soft plastic, and then it's going to sit. It's going to hit the ground and stop, where the Lucid is going to be more prone to skips. It's going to be more prone to rolling. So if you're throwing into a treacherous green, if you want to make sure you hit the ground and stop, then that soft Justice is going to be a really good way to do that. When can we get 100% beef stamp Justice? Or where, Dustin says. Dustin, they're on the website on dynamicdiscs.com. If you just search for Moonshine Justice, there's that, and there's also a criminal, I believe, was the other one. It might have been a felon. But there's another disc that has that same stamp on it as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about plastics. Obviously, we just said Moonshine. We do also have a stock stamp Moonshine Justice. I really like these. I don't know what it is about the Moonshine that's been coming out lately, but it's just, I don't know, it's got a little bit more tack to it. It feels really nice. I like it a lot. And then the Lucid, this one's got a little bit of a sparkle to it. Shoot. Some metal flakes, and it's kind of an opaque run too. Real nice. Also, Biofusion Justice, if you're just kind of looking to get that premium plastic feel, but kind of knock some of the stability out of the Justice just a little bit, this would be a real good way to go. And then I'm sure most of you know Danny Lindahl. He also bags, or used to bag, a Prime Justice. And he has one that he just beat the crap out of, and it's still a Justice, but it just doesn't quite have that Justice finish to it. Still very overstable, still throw really hard, and he gets some nice overstable flights out of it, but just not quite that Justice finish. And last but certainly not least is the Hybrid Masters World Championship Fundraiser Justices. These, I've heard, are more overstable than a Justice, which is just not a thing that I thought anyone would need. It is super, super overstable, but people have been loving these things. Obviously, everybody wants some hybrid plastic, but if you just want a Justice that's going to stay a Justice forever, these are a real good way to do that. Let's see. Matt says, oh, he's replying to someone, so we will skip that for now. Kyle says Justice versus Anvil. Kyle, I prefer the Justice because it is just a little bit more overstable. The grip feels a little bit more comfortable for me, specifically on a sidearm. But I could very easily throw an Anvil and be very happy with it, and throw very, very similar, almost identical shots between the Justice and the Anvil. Mark says, what are Westside and Lat 64 discs that compare to the Justice? For Westside, the closest one would be the Anvil. And then for Lat, it's kind of hard. I mean, the Trident is what people used to say, but that was more of like a fairway driver. The Triple X we did a few weeks ago is a super overstable fairway driver. The Anchor, I guess, would be the closest. It feels similar to the Justice, but in terms of flight, it's not as overstable by any means. That's even a little bit less overstable than the Anvil. That's more of like an overstable mid-range, where the Justice and the Anvil are like utility mid-ranges because they're just that much more overstable. So I would say the Anchor, but that's not, it's still, you're not going to throw the same shots as you would with a Justice. Let's see, Jeff says, Justice will be served if Roger wins. Kyle says, which one can I win? We are going to be giving away this Prime Justice here. This is one that I was throwing in the clips there, and I really, really liked it. And like I was just talking about, Danny has one in his bag that he beat up to a little bit straighter, just knock some of that stability off at the end, and just get a little bit straighter and a little bit, I don't want to call it softer finish, but less of a complete nosedive at the end. So yeah, we're going to be giving away this one at the end of the stream. If you are new to the stream, the way to enter into that giveaway is to like the stream, share the stream, and then leave a question for me in the chat. Mark says, how deep is the rim? Mark, not anything crazy. It's a pretty typical mid-range, I don't want to say quite a typical mid-range feel, but it is a typical mid-range depth. It's super, super flat. You can see, I mean, you could eat off the top of this thing. It is board flat, and it does have quite a noticeable bead on there. So if you're somebody who likes beadless discs, then we were just talking about the Anvil. That would be a little bit more, a little bit better suited for you because it is beadless and it is still very, very overstable. But I personally prefer the Justice. Roger says, I like orange. It's sweet. Roger, oranges are sweet. Also, this one is pretty sweet. There's quite a few. I don't want to guess at how many, but I would say there's probably like 20 that I can see right here that all have this kind of opaque, metal flaky, lucid justicey, just ice. Get it? Just ice. I'm so funny, guys. After the Prime Justice is beaten, does it tend to flip? I mean, if you, like, I don't know how long Danny's had his in his bag, but he's had it in there long enough to beat it in, but it's definitely still a Justice. So if you have one in your bag for years, maybe, but I can't see someone beating up a Justice enough to get it to be actually understable. That would just take forever, and by that point, if you're anything like me, you'd probably end up losing the disc well before it gets that beaten. So yes, I guess it could be possible, but no, not in any sort of realistic world would that happen. It's very overstable. You could beat one up to make it just overstable, but it's not. You're not going to be able to beat it up to be understable like we did the Warrant last week. Here, we'll play the clips one more time for you. We did the Warrant last week, which is very understable on its own. I would be very impressed if someone could beat up a Justice to make that fly even remotely similar. They're very, very different. Jeremy says, you and Danny arm wrestling, who wins? Jeremy, come on, man. That's not fair to Danny. Danny knows. That's just, that wouldn't be fair. Kyle says, one time I flicked a Justice and it went 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Ended up being a compass. Oh no, Kyle. Dang it, man. When I first started reading that and you said it went 180 degrees, I was expecting a joke about it, like being so overstable that it turned around and went backwards. That's unfortunate. White stamps. Hopefully that wasn't during a tournament for you, Kyle. Kyle was just in town and he won the Radius Open here in Emporia at Peter Pan Park over the weekend. So congratulations on your win there, Kyle. Roger says, my Prime Justice is so beat up that it's concaved on the top and still crazy overstable. Roger, I actually have a Lucid Justice that's the same way. I got it in the player pack during GBO whenever it first came out, like 2014 it might have been. And then I lost it at Peter Pan, and it was in the water for like a year or 2 years. It was in there for a really long time. I just got it back this year, and I lost it, I think, 2015, so 3 years almost. And I got it back, and I threw it, and it flies exactly the same. It's just puddle top now and like super gummy. So, yeah, it's like, there's just nothing you can do to a Justice to make it not just massively overstable. I would be so impressed if someone could prove me wrong on that, other than like hit it with a tank or something. If you run it over with a truck 100 times, I guess I could see that. But if you're just playing disc golf with it, it's never going to flip on you. It's just not a thing that Justices will do. I love how animated you are when you read these comments. Well, Matt, we got some characters out here, man. We got some funny people doing these things. Ellen says, what does puddle top and gummy mean? All right, Ellen, here we go. So puddle top is like when the top of a disc here, we'll use one that's a solid color. When the top of a disc here is like concaved in. So when it's kind of like if you left it out in the rain, the top would form a puddle. It curves down. That's what puddle top means. And then gummy is just kind of a way to describe the feel of it. It feels like, I don't know, it has like a, not quite rubbery, but like a gummy feel to it, where like this Biofusion is pretty, it's got a tacky, maybe would be another way. It's got a good grip to it. It's not soft, but it feels like there's some give in it, where like these Prime Justices are really stiff. It's still got grip, but it's not quite as soft. You can't quite, it's not as rubbery. It's more of a stiff feeling. So that's kind of the difference there between those two. Makes me think of floating gummy bears. Okay. I guess I get the gummy part, and the puddle top would be floating, but definitely has nothing to do with gummy bears. The blue one would make a nice replacement, Roger says. Well, Roger, luckily this is the one that we're giving away, so you have a chance. Man, I wish someone would find my truth. I lost in the lake at IDGC 2 years ago. Ryan, it took me 3 years to get mine back. So it's possible, man. Just hold strong. One more year and you could have it, if you're like me. Kyle says puddle top equals lack of glide, which is perfect for a Justice. Yes. That's one thing that I kind of didn't really hit on. I mentioned we changed the flight numbers from, it used to be a 3 glide to now it's a 1. 1 is so accurate because it's just barely more than 0. That's how numbers work. And the glide on this thing is just barely more than 0. It does not want to stay in the air. It wants to do this. This is a disc where Danny would say, if you're new to it or if it's the first time you're throwing it, when you throw it, watch your left toe, because it's just gonna dive down. Very little glide, absolutely no turn. It has a 0.5, so a positive turn, which means it's going to turn left out of your hand instead of right, and then the 4 fade is just super accurate. It is an extremely overstable disc, and those numbers represent that, and those numbers are spot on, I would say. Just ordered my first Justice, Daniel says. Daniel, that's awesome. I hope you use the coupon code Justice15, because that's a great way to save yourself some money. And that applies, there it is, that applies to the Lucid and Moonshine Justices. Save yourself 15% on those. And that also applies if you're in the Emporia area, or there's a guy who said he's coming on a tour tomorrow. That does also work in store as well. Colin says, how do I enter into the giveaway? Colin, all you have to do is like and share the stream, and then leave a question or a comment down in the chat about the Justice, and that will enter you into it. We will get that going here in just a minute. So if you're new to the stream or anything like that, do that. Get yourself entered in for some free overstable plastic. Kyle, first is just barely more than 0. Yes, okay, I've done the math, and that's how numbers work. 1 is just barely more than 0. Daniel says he did. Awesome. In other words, as soon as the spin... the chat just switched on me, sorry. Matt says, in other words, as soon as the spin and release velocity starts slowing down, this thing is heading left and to the ground. That's a much smarter way of... Yes. Matthew, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. The Justice is one of my favorite discs, Lucid, Moonshine, and Prime. Different Matthew. We're giving away a Prime. Lucid and Moonshine are 15% off using the coupon code JUSTICE15. This was made for you, dude. Come on. When they're super beat and ridged on top, do you call it wavy top or bacon top or something else? Matt, I don't really know. I don't have a word for that. I've heard it called bacon top, but none of my discs have that, I guess, luckily. I don't know if that would be an unfortunately. None of my discs have that, so I don't really have a word for that. I've heard it called bacon top, though. So, is the plural of justice just I? Well, I don't know. Justices is what I would guess. I don't know. Maybe it's like sheep or mice. I don't know. Justice. It's just all of them. Tony says, I dig these love streams. Thanks, Tony. I'm glad you like the live streams, bud. Thanks for coming out and watching these every Wednesday. We come in here, we laugh, we talk about some discs, give something away, save people some money. Pretty sweet. Forrest says, what is the white disc in front of your computer? This is a hybrid Justice. These are a little bit more overstable from what I'm hearing, and they were fundraisers for the Masters World Championships that were held in Kansas City this year, the 2018 Masters Worlds. So if you want a Justice, if you want some hybrid plastic, if you need more overstable Justice because you're just Hulk out there just mashing on stuff, check those out. Let's see. Richard says 0.5 is more than 0, but less than 1. But 0.5 isn't a whole number, so it's just barely more than 0. Most thrown mid on the market that I've thrown, says Sean. I played a tournament this weekend, and yeah, I think the Justice was by far my most thrown mid-range, aside from the Suspect, but I throw the Suspect as a putter. So as far as mid-ranges go, the Justice was definitely my most thrown mid-range. Mike says, are these gluten-free? Mike, 100%. 100% gluten-free, absolutely. There's no Justice without 20% off. Jeff, I tried, man. I can only get you 15. So if you use the 15% off code twice, that's 30% off. And I also have done math, and that's more than 20%, so you're welcome. Mark says the plural of Justice is just us. I like it. Please send one to Austin, Will says. What's up, guys? We got a live studio audience in here now. Just got done throwing a 9-hole round with my Justice, Dustin says. All right, I hope it was a short course for you, Dustin, because that is tough. If there's one disc that I could choose to not play 9 holes with, it might be a Justice, just because it's like you're going to be taking a lot of pars unless the holes are under 200 feet. But if you are just looking to practice your approach game, sidearm game, Justice is just it. I've noticed since becoming a part of DD, your hair has really come into its own. Has Robert given you some pointers, or is it just in the air in Emporia? Jeremy, when I first moved here, I asked Robert where he got his haircut, and he told me, and so I went to that guy, and I said, make me look better than when I came in here, and this is what he did, and this is what he's done ever since then. So I guess we have Robert, or the barber's name is Carlos, so Robert and Robert and Carlos are to thank for what's going on up here. Eric says, is the suspect most stable mid? No, the suspect is stable as in straight. The justice is extremely overstable. So depending on your usage of the word stable, if stable means straight to you, then yes, the suspect is very stable. If stable means overstable to you, then the justice is the most overstable for sure. New Flint Hills challenge for Danny, all justice. See, Matthew, that one wouldn't be as hard for Danny because he throws pretty far, he throws pretty hard. He can reach most of those holes with the justice. And he really wouldn't get himself into too much danger with those, the ones that he can't reach, because he'll get halfway there, throw it again, and he's going to be parked. So I think Danny could shoot a real hot score there if he used the justice only. All right, guys, it seems like that is most of the justice-related questions. We do have some non-justice-related questions, but we are trying to keep it on topic here because we have been rambling for a minute. Let's see, Mike says, can you donate me a bag with straps? Just think of it as free advertisement. Mike, if I could do that, I would have so many bags for free as advertisement. Unfortunately, I can't do that. What I can do is I can give away a Prime Justice, and I can give 15% off on Lucid and Moonshine Justices using the coupon code JUSTICE15. So hopefully, Mike, that will be a good compensation for you. Somebody's asking about flights. How about I just do this for you and I just show you what this thing looks like in action, in flight, going left, very overstable. Can we see the videos, Andrew? Yeah, Eric, video of flight, please. Here you go, guys. You can see those now. Just beef, man. That's why we have the 100% beef stamp. It does one thing, and it does that one thing so super well. You don't need any other shots with this. You can just throw approaches like this, obviously. Just hyzers. Hyzer, hyzer, hyzer. If you want to turn it over, good luck. You can try, but it's going to fight out. It's a justice. That's what they do. Just parked. That one, I felt so good about that shot too. I appreciate Danny catching that on camera. Here's another one. This is the Prime Justice that we're actually giving away here. And you can see Prime Plastic beats in fairly quickly compared to like a Lucid Plastic, but still extremely overstable. It's still a justice, even on a sidearm. Throw it high, throw it hard, and spike. It just does one thing, and it does that one thing better than anything else can. Just throw it. If you're throwing a sidearm, aim left. If you're throwing a backhand, aim to the right, and it's going to finish right at the basket. It's going to sit down and stop, and hopefully give you a nice, easy birdie. So, we are going to be giving away this Justice here. Prime Justice, overstable, grippy in really any conditions. It's going to get you some birdies. It's going to get you a lot of birdies. So the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to pick a number, 1 through 10. So everyone get your numbers ready, but don't comment yet. I'm going to pick a number 1 through 10. And then the first person that I see in the chat that guesses that number is going to be the one that wins this. Anyone who doesn't win is going to be able to use the coupon code. I guess if you win, you can do it too. But the coupon code JUSTICE15 is going to save you 10% on both Lucid and Moonshine Justices. It's also going to get you some birdies, but not as many as if you win the giveaway. Maybe even more. Okay, so the number 1 through 10, ready, set, go. First person that I see that comments the number that I'm thinking of, and I'll explain the number after. Nope, not yet. A bunch of people said 7 real quick, but that is not the number, unfortunately. Not yet. 1 through 10. The first person to guess it is going to win this Prime Justice here. Nobody yet. Ooh, we had somebody close. Had somebody close. If you think about this disc and maybe some changes that it's gone through. All right, we've got it. Dustin Delaney. Dustin guessed it. The number was 2. So why did I pick number 2? Because I said this thing's going to get you a lot of birdies. More often than not, a birdie is a 2 on a par 3. Also, the glide used to be a 3. Now it's a 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. we're getting math out of the way here, guys. We've got numbers down. 1 is just more than 0. 2 is 3 minus 1. You're welcome. You guys are going to get some A's in your math classes if you're taking them. So, Dustin Delaney, congrats, man. Send your address to the Dynamic Discs Facebook page. I will get this thing shipped out to you, and then you will report back, hopefully, with just a million birdies that this thing gets you. A million twos, we should say. We should call them twos. But that is it. Everyone else, thank you for tuning in. Use the coupon code JUSTICE15. Save yourself 15% on the Lucid Justice as well as the Moonshine Justice. We are going to get out of here. We will see you guys next Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central Time, on the Dynamic Discs Facebook page with another disc, another giveaway, another coupon code. Probably not as much math, but hopefully it'll be interesting for you guys. So we will see you then.